fellow mystics. We are back in the Pioneer Dream Studio lair from Chicago, Illinois. We're so thrilled to be back here with you. Today we're talking about the Savior Next Door. I think it's a conversation you're going to enjoy, and we can't wait to have it with you. Let's get started.
The Misfit Mystics podcast is in presentation of Pioneer Dream, celebrating 30 years of moving stories for our corporate, nonprofit, and entertainment partners. We invite you, fellow Misfits, to join the conversation with text, emails, or just the messages in the comment section below. As always, you can share this podcast with anyone you think would get it by sending the link below. Thanks for listening.
Hello, all you mixed up mystics out there in Mystics World, Mystics Land.
Magical Mystic Land?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
You know, those who listen to the podcast, welcome back. Welcome us back. We are so thrilled you're here and happy to be back in the Pioneer Dream Studio lair.
It is nice to be
here
back
in the
our
Heartland.
little studio.
For those who didn't catch the last episode, the last time we met, we were in Chicago, Illinois, doing a satellite episode
Yes.
with a guest star, our own daughter, Evangeline Jane Webster III.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. So today, it seems like we're a little off. It's because I had to actually rebuild the studio. We took
Yes.
part of all the equipment with us to Chicago so that while we were there,
we could do some podcasting.
We could do a podcast. And it was a lot of fun to do it from a different place.
It was.
As it always is. And then you get back here and you realize everything was pretty precise the way you had it. Like you had, like there are, all the mics were kind of on these arms that you can kind of move and manipulate.
Yeah.
Well, I had taken all those off the table and disconnected them. So
gotcha.
now you got to do it again. And then all the levels are a little different and everything. And so we finally rebuilt it.
It looks good in here.
Yeah.
You did well.
And and then you get into the mics. And I don't know if anybody ever listened to the show that was on NPR for 1,000 years called, it was Garrison Keillor.
Of course they did.
Prairie Home Companion.
Oh, yeah.
We fell in love with that show when we were in college because we would listen to it on Sunday nights on our way back to school.
That's right.
At Norman. And he was really funny and all that other stuff. But he also, for whatever reason, was like our huge nose whistler.
Oh, yeah, you could hear it.
And so, like you and I both wear headphones during the podcast, which
Yeah.
is really great. It helps you kind of feel like you're in the moment, blocks out all the
Yes.
other stuff. And then also if there is some kind of sound thing or sirens go by or whatever,
And I can really focus on all the amazing things
you
you're
can
saying.
hear the inflection of my voice and
Yeah.
all the beauty of it.
Yes.
But, I was just thinking about the nose whistling.
Well, yeah, and it was like, I can't even recreate it. But it would be
would
like,
enough, it would distract you. And
Yeah.
that was,
because he would be telling a story and it would be like, and Mr. Farmer came out.
You're like, wow, buddy.
And then it was because it was breathing, it was rhythmic. So you'd be waiting for the next nose whistle.
Right.
I remember that. So
we had
hopefully we're not nose whistling.
No, I know. We had a great time in Chicago. We had a great experience, and it was a lot of funny stories we can't get into right now, but maybe some other episode. But anyway, as Steinbeck says, the test of any trip is that it makes you appreciate your life and your home that much more. So not that you're not. So we had a great time.
Yeah, a lot of
great
good
memories every day.
Yeah.
and all that kind of
Evangeline
stuff.
loved it.
She's still in mourning.
We
that we've
probably
left.
could have left her there, and she would have been fine.
Oh man, you and I were both exhausted.
Yeah.
And both tired of paying for things. And so when the
Chicago.
time came
So expensive.
the time came for us to come back home, I was like, oh man, I am ready. And you and I, even 40 hours away from leaving, we're like, man, I'm ready.
Yes.
Let's do this.
Well, and
It's been a great trip.
We
and-
stayed right in downtown, and so it was kind of it was like touristy on one
Yes.
side, and kind of the tough parts of the city. Not dangerous in case our
No,
moms are listening, but just
right.
sort of homeless stuff, just tough situations.
Stuff we have here, but just on steroids.
When you're 13, all you're seeing is shopping and fun and
Yes.
museums remember the one time we were at the farmer's market, she was ready to go, and she goes, well, I was just hoping we could just sit down and have some lunch. We've just done plenty.
Who are you?
And we know if we're going to sit down and have lunch, that's $50.
Oh, at bare minimum.
Easy. And that's
That's
if
just
we
to walk in the
share.
door, yeah.
Yeah, so we were like, no, we can't sit down and have lunch.
golly. Yeah,
Luckily,
so-
our apartment, we could cook and hang out, and we did get to see lots of the city sights.
We
but
did.
I am glad to be home.
But we're so thrilled to be back home and back into our own lair and our own environment, and we appreciate it even more, that we get to be back and all that kind of stuff. It's really pretty funny.
Yeah.
Hey, just a reminder, friends, that as much as you love this podcast, we do have another podcast called the Dreamers Life Podcast.
That's right.
All one word, and you can find that. We talk about all kinds of stuff, but if you enjoy this conversation and these two wonderful, delightful personalities, you will love that one as well. And then there's also the Got a Minute mini podcast, which is perfect. It fits right in your pocket. You can take it wherever you go. It's like 15 minutes long, and it is a combination of a chapter from my book, which is supposed to be funny most of the time.
It is funny.
And then one of your original songs. And you
pair
even
it
join
together.
us on the podcast and give us like a short, here's what the song is about, here's what I was thinking, here's what I was trying to communicate, or here's why I did these instruments, whatever.
Behind the song.
Yeah, and it's really entertaining, and it's also short, so you can do it on your smoke break, your lunch break, whatever you're doing, whatever you're doing. So, and that's Got a Minute. I think there's a hyphen in all this. Got hyphen, and it is mini podcast. But anyway,
Yeah.
wherever you find your podcast, you will find those two podcasts.
That's right.
And they're well worth the listen.
So many podcasts, so little time.
Well, they're just so darn lucrative. I mean, once you start making one,
you can lose money on the others.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Friends, we, of course, as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast for a minute, know that we both grew up in the bedazzled belt buckle of the Bible Belt here in
did.
America, here in Americaville. And there's some beauty to all that. There's some challenges to all that. I think one of the things that's a challenge for us in the Bible Belt, as well as just in America at large, is you kind of get a saturation point for all things Christian.
Yeah.
So,
oh man, it's like on steroids.
and we, of course, grew up with a bunch of different scriptures repeated, over and over again. That God so loved the world,
For
and
better or worse.
Get behind me, Satan. No,
Actually, that cracked me up. When was it about a year ago when that phrase came to prominence? If I think it's one, it's probably been
Not
people like,
t-
not
not
today,
today,
Satan.
Yeah, right.
That one actually cracks me up because you can say it to anybody.
Yeah, but you can hear this stuff so much that after a minute, it kind of starts to lose its your awareness of it. It becomes a thing where you repeat it.
It's just like
you
anything.
sing along.
It's like how we call it being house blind.
Yeah.
Like when you forget, like you think your house is clean,
Yes.
and then somebody's coming over for a drink or dinner or whatever, and you're like, oh man, the Dennises are coming over,
Yeah.
and then
we
you
got to paint that wall.
and all of a sudden you look around, you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
like house blind. You just
Yes.
you're so used to seeing things a certain way that they
Right.
kind of lose their
Well,
your
the
awareness.
story that we've told 100 times about, I don't know what it was, 30
Let's
plus.
tell it 101
Let's
times.
do it today. About 30 years ago, you and I were at a restaurant, and we were sitting at the bar. It was a sushi restaurant in Tulsa. And we sat at the bar because that's one of our favorite places to sit.
Yeah.
And we're there, and it's on this little hilltop, and you can see the rest of the city from where we are. It's really
It
pretty.
was kind of a trendy place. I'm
Yes.
sure we were feeling pretty cool about it.
And we're sitting there, and we're having a great time. And of course, there's music playing, and then I just recognized, oh man, that's a great song.
Yeah.
I love that. It's unusual that we'd be playing that song here. And then we're eating, and then the next song was like, man, this is a great song.
one of
this
our
is
favorite
like,
songs.
I'm thinking, and then the next song comes on. I'm like, this is spooky. This is like
art,
like
yes.
as if I was DJing our time here. Like I was picking every song, and like about the fourth or fifth song, I finally called the bartender and said, "What's happening with the music? Where's this coming from?"
chooses your music?
And
I mean, what an
he
amazing
said, "Oh,
soul.
well, this is this new service called Pandora." And I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, Pandora. You kind of put in a song or some information about what you want to hear, and then it does this algorithm thing, and it just programs it and then plays music accordingly." And I was like, "No, because I have really eclectic taste. I mean, I
I'm
listen
so
to
unique.
Yeah, I listen to music that most people would never even heard of. I listen to
Right.
bands that don't even exist yet. Okay, so just I'm terribly unique in this thing.
Do you remember when, if you had discovered a band before someone else, you're like, oh yeah, I've been listening to them for years.
Well, then you were in this weird place, like you
wanted them to be popular
but
because
then you didn't
there's
want to
some-
really share them with anybody
Yeah,
else.
you're
Like,
like,
I hope
yeah,
they
no,
don't
I
get.
know. It's like-
I hope they don't get popular.
Like, I'm pretty sure we thought when
I hope they can't afford to keep doing this.
when Coldplay came out, we were like, oh, man,
yeah.
there's this really cool band called Coldplay. You probably haven't heard of it. It was like
Yeah.
the next day.
You've probably
they were
never
huge.
heard of the Beatles, but
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so then that was our introduction into music streaming. Like then, and just of course
Well,
everything
the
exploded.
thing was, at that moment, I remember.
It was all brand new.
No, what it was all of a sudden you realize all you are is a demographic.
You are.
Someone
You're
entered
an
in
equation.
your age, the
Right.
fact that you are, white, middle class of this age group,
Yeah.
probably have a 4-year degree, and, you grew up in the 80s,
Right.
and this is the music
I had
you're
to get-
probably going to like.
I had to get dressed this morning, and I was put on some clothes based on whatever I was doing today. I wanted to make sure I looked nice for this audio podcast.
And let
and
me
I've been on these clothes.
Should I describe what you're wearing for everyone? in
because
detail?
I can just
you
tell
do
you,
look
'cause
really
people
nice.
know. I put on the clothes, and I thought, oh my God, I look so my age. I've got, a shirt, a button-up shirt that's untucked with trendy shorts, and then I have
Wow.
shoes that are appropriately comfortable, trendy, and also say, "Hey, but I'm still hip and fun."
Yeah.
And so
Well-
just the shoes alone
But
say,
it's-
"Oh, you must be in your 50s."
But it's
Because look how trendy and fun they are. Because they say, "I'm still a kid on the
early
inside."
50s, very early 50s. That's rude. But no, the thing is, remember we used to joke about this, the aging
aging hipster,
is what we call it.
yes.
So there are people, which is what we are now.
I'm sorry, friends. None of this has to do with what we're talking about today, but you're going to enjoy it. It's
We'll
a great
get
time.
there.
Yeah.
But no, the aging hipster was, you would say to me, you'd come in and be like, because you've always been super fashionable. In fact, you were voted best dressed in high school, which is
please.
super annoying.
I've done my best to live up to it.
And what was my special award?
Most talented.
And boy, have I lived up to it.
Oh, man.
Anyway, we're disappointing millions. But you would come in and you'd be like, is this new shirt cool? Or does it look like I'm trying too hard?
Right.
And this started probably when we hit our 40s. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, it's cool. You could get away with that. Like maybe if you're going out for an evening. But
Right.
then we started calling it like the aging
Yeah,
hipster.
you don't want to be the aging
When
hipster.
you're like dressing like too, I think anybody can do
When
whatever
you're
they want. but
dressing like a generation below you or
It
two.
just looks
Yeah.
it's just too much.
Some people can people can do it. Brad Pitt can do it. What was the guy that we?
Brad Pitt can do whatever he wants.
That's what I'm saying.
Ladies.
What was the guy? What was the great actor that was in the show we did on Netflix with his son?
Could you narrow it down?
No, it won't. It
Okay,
doesn't.
never
This-
mind.
this
But
is
anyway,
what old
the aging
people do.
hipster. So
Dang
now
it.
that's a shortcut for us. If one of us comes in and it's something that looks, and you'll be like, it's aging
I just
hipster,
couldn't
babe.
believe
Aging
I
hipster.
just couldn't believe when I put the shoes on today. I just thought, oh my God, these are such age appropriate shoes.
Well, they look
just-
comfortable, but they're
That's the
cool.
point. That's the point.
But they're cool,
tennis
too.
shoes. They're tennis shoes that have just the amount of comfort and fun mixture that
Yeah.
just says, hey,
Yeah.
he's wearing comfortable shoes, but he's also a kid inside, and it's like all the kids, and it's all the guys my age wearing Vans.
It is, but it's like all you want is that your 13-year-old friends might be like, your dad's cool, man. Your dad's
Anyway,
cool. Okay,
none
so
of that
anyway.
has to do with listening to Pandora and streaming music. The challenge with it became that suddenly, I can just remember how I just, like for about eight months in there, I was just like, I was just creating all these brand new stations
Oh, yeah.
on Pandora, and I'd be like, okay, this is my Willie Nelson station, or this is my
It was like an
new
entertainment
order.
thing
This
for
is my
you.
new order station, and this
Yeah.
is this is my punk station, and I was curating it.
What
and I
about
was
your
picking-
Christian rock station?
I didn't have one of those.
Oh, I didn't either.
And so anyway, I did. It was funny. I did come up with a station when I, felt secure enough.
Yes.
After 20 years of the service, I think I created a station that had like some. Actually, I deleted it, but I had a station that had like the 77s and the Choir and a
Oh
couple
yeah,
of
like some old school, like alternative Christian rock.
Christian bands that were angry about being Christian bands, and I was like, "Oh, this is
Those are
great!
our
I love
favorite.
this." And so, anyway, then I noticed after about 15 years or 20 years into it that
Mm-hmm.
I was no longer really enjoying music at the level I used to. I mean, music has always been like a
Yes.
huge part of my life,
Sure.
and I can mark pretty much every moment of my life with some musical thing.
Yeah.
But now, like songs that would show up and like, oh my God, I haven't heard this song in years. I love this song. This is so great.
Yeah.
You're like, that doesn't happen anymore because you've got it on Pandora and it just continuously
Oh,
plays.
sure.
And
You
so
can just
everything,
bring it up.
Yeah. So
Yeah, play it
So
right then.
now you kind of end up getting bored.
Yeah.
With music
With your
because you,
lists.
yeah. And so like we'll go to work on the yard, or it'll be a Saturday, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna put some music on. Like, what do I put on that we haven't been listening to?
Yeah.
And then I keep thinking there's old stuff, which both you and Evangeline get really tired of, and I get
We
that.
do. Your old guy playlist.
And then, but even the new stuff is so repetitive. You're like, there's just nothing. And we end up putting on music with people from that are like foreign bands,
Oh,
just because
I love
you,
this.
because at least
the
you
French
don't know 'em.
cafe radio is really good, and the Brazilian.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you want to know what's worse, is Evangeline has this one station that she likes. I won't mention which one, but anyway, the same. I swear to you, we will pop it on. Like in the summer, we're in the car even more together. We'll pop it on, and I'll say, Evangeline, if they play one of these 3 songs, I am, and they, I mean,
turn it off.
just hit it.
Oh my
So,
gosh,
anyway.
yeah. There's a handful of songs like right now with Sabrina Carpenter or Chaperone or what's his name, Benson or
Yes,
whatever.
and Kendrick
Boone.
Lamar.
Oh,
I mean, they just
you
the
can't even
same.
walk into a store without them pounding your head with it.
And I think they're, well, not all of the ones you just mentioned, but there's a lot of creativity there.
Yeah.
But still, anywho,
All that to say that growing up in the Bible Belt and probably America too, but especially here, there were a lot of scriptures that kind of started to fall into the Pandora playlist thing. Like you hear it so much, like block,
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
out, and
for God so loved the world, yeah.
and and then so when you go and so if you choose to spend any time reading scriptures and all that stuff, which I still think there's a lot of value to, you can gloss over that stuff. And one of those things to me that kind of got glossed over are, of course, here comes God, and he's got this rescue plan for the world. And so he sends his son Jesus, for God so loved the world.
Yeah.
And so you do all that stuff, and it's this divine plan. And then, of course, Jesus shows up, and he does all this miraculous stuff, and he's got all this power, and he's doing all this stuff. And then there's this other part of it, though, where, we know Jesus is the Son of God, but then also this thing about Jesus is the Son of Man, and that he's fully human. And so, like we would quote the quotes, that he was tempted in every way just like us, and being a man just like us, and not being the very nature of God, all that kind of stuff. But the humanity of God, and thinking about that, the humanity of Jesus, and if I am honest with myself in that consideration, that's something I struggle with.
Yeah.
That's something I have a difficult time with.
I think most people do.
Because I think part of it is that I know what it is to be human. I know how fickle it is to be human. I know how challenging it is to be human. I know how weak it is to be human. So to put God's rescue plan, his hero, in that context, that's like, wow. I mean, he was bothered by the same things I'm bothered by. He was tired in the same way I'm on and on and on. I'm thinking, I don't know if I feel comfortable with the Savior of the world being that close to, you want your Savior of the world to be Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
That not have a bunch of things that can pull you down, to be impenetrable, to to be all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a certain part of that I know that's supposed to be comforting. What do you think about that when you think about Jesus? Do you reflect more on his divine side or more on his humanity side?
That's a very good question. Honestly, I think I reflect on the human part more.
Wow.
There's something.
You're broken.
You're broken, and your outfit's a little much.
I'm saying.
I think the thing, because we've studied different religions, we're aware of
Right.
different philosophies, and we are not afraid to talk to people about stuff like that and understand different viewpoints. The thing about Christianity, I don't even like using that word. It's so Bible Beltish, but about, I guess, the gospel, I like that word better. That is so amazing and makes it so different is that God was willing to come down and live in this shithole.
Yeah.
So sorry,
Sure.
everyone. There it is. Wait till she cusses. It was midway through the podcast.
You made it this far. Yeah.
But that's what makes it so beautiful. So to me, the fact that, and I also relate to God most importantly as my friend.
Yeah.
And a friend is somebody that is in the trenches with you, that is in the mess with you. And so, oddly enough, the fact that Jesus is human and divine is super beautiful to me and is what makes my faith really meaningful, I guess. I do see what you're saying, though. It is scary to think,
Yeah.
here
I mean, I think
he was
intellectually-
tempted in every way, but he did the right thing every time.
I think intellectually, I understand everything you're saying, and
Yeah.
I agree with that. So from that standpoint of writing it out and studying it and all that good stuff, it's great. But the idea that he was tempted. So essentially, if you read the scriptures and you take them, kind of pseudo literally or whatever, there's the devil, there's Jesus, and they both kind of have the same origin story. They both come from heaven down to earth at some level. And so the fact that the scriptures record the evil one tempting Jesus, so that Jesus was tempted, says at some level there was a chance. There was an opportunity. So even though Jesus came from this divine background and has this divine, thing, so does the evil one in this origin story. He knew that it wasn't without reason to try and tempt Jesus, which means there was an opportunity for Jesus to fail.
To be dissuaded.
The idea that somehow the superhero could have been failed in that
fallible.
level.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's a scary thing.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, to think of him as frail like a human, the fact that he would get tired. Dude was sleeping all the time. He was sleeping on the boat, and he's sleeping when he's up against the whale, and against the well, and all this stuff, and just everywhere he was
exhausted
just always
from
sleeping.
dealing with all of us.
And if I count up the number of times that I've had to say, "Hey, I'm sorry I did that. Hey, I'm sorry I said that. I was tired."
Yes.
And you're telling me that the superhero was tired too. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh.
Well, but still,
that's how close we were to
exactly. Well, I see what you're saying. I don't think I've ever really thought about. Like, I think what bothers me about the humanity is that it was tempted in every way. He's felt exactly like I have, and yet he always did the right thing. So what an extra schmuck am I? I mean, that's
well, that kind of goes without question. I think.
I'm like, I can't keep it together for one day. You know what I'm saying? So that is, and also, and when I think about his humanity, the fact that he would have been willing to die in such a way and actually go through with God's plan. I mean, that is where I think I am so far from that. And I can only hope that God brought this beautiful grace that somehow carried him through. But that's the part of the humanity that is very difficult for me to.
I think it's also a little difficult for me because, obviously I know what it is to be human. I know the squirrely thoughts that go into my brain.
Oh man, squirrels living up in there.
I know all those things that I'm confronted with, and in one way, it's also a little like, oh God, Jesus has been in here too. Like he knows, he knows what is really happening in my brain. He knows what thoughts are really going on in there. I can't hide that by saying, well, you wouldn't know, you've never been here before. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so the fact that he knows just how squirrely and weird I am makes, could lead you to feel even that much more insecure in that. You know what I mean?
Well, think about this. And like when we read, in the Gospels, we're just getting snapshots or pictures. Yeah. So that was just, the time when Jesus was led into the desert to spend some quality one-on-one time with the evil one. Right. That's just a snippet. And talk about, we have weird thoughts like, man, you can't do it. You're not strong enough or this or this and that. But this was like, hey, you're not the Son of God. Hey, you're really not. I mean, maybe, who knows if Jesus was confronted with that every day in his mind. I mean, I have thoughts that I fight on the regular, as we say, that I have to. And so we're only seeing that one story. Right. But it's possible that he went through the same level of
I think there was something about his I think there was something about his humanity that made him susceptible. And I don't know that full mystery. I don't, fully understand the relationship between the divine Jesus and the human Jesus and the coexistence of those two things in one. I do, there's a lot of beauty to it, but this whole thing that he could be hot and tired and hungry and on the edge. And then I think especially as you get towards the end of the Gospels and you see this other level of humanity in Jesus, so as he's anticipating his death. And I think like all the emotions are just up here at the top, like we were joking about the scripture about the getting behind me, Satan, but all that comes with Jesus having to be resolute to do this thing that he really does not want to physically do, and the suffering that he does not want to do. And the fact that, Peter, who thinks he has his best interest at heart and is trying to be a friend and say, no, you don't have to do this and that. And he responds in such a dramatic way, says to me, all his emotions, all the emotions of Jesus are right under the level, right under the skin. And they're way up here at top to where you have to say, get behind me. You don't know what you're saying. And so you do respond with a certain level of emotion.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You do respond with a certain level of anger. And you see, the days before he's supposed to be crucified, and all he wants is breakfast, and he goes to a fig tree that's not even in season. It's not even time for that thing. And yet he's so angry that he just can't get breakfast and the buffet's already closed, that he curses the tree. So all these human emotions are right at the surface level.
And very evident in the gospel is clear to let us see that.
Yeah,
it's
not trying to hide it.
No, exactly. And it's not like we're keeping it under the vest.
There's no
here.
press agent coming back later and saying, no, what he was really trying to say was X, Y, or Z.
Right. And he had emotions and he experienced that. And that is the part that is hard for me about Jesus being human. Although I do relate to him mostly his willingness to become human. But the fact that if he was human and really was able to stay the course. And follow through with what his destiny and his mission was. I mean, that's the part that's hard for me to believe, to be honest. And that's where I hope somehow, we talk about theology. We don't know what we're talking about, but that's where I hope somehow that God's grace, that's where that divinity came in to get him there. I don't know.
Well, I think it's, maybe it is this part of the divinity where he can remember where he came from. He can remember what he saw. He can do that. I don't know that it made it easier for him than it does for us. I wouldn't say that. But
I'd like to think it did because I just can't believe it.
But at the same time, it also it does encourage us, I think, or set a standard for us to say, he was human. I'm human. He did this. Maybe I can follow in those footsteps. Maybe, I won't ever be perfect. But it does say that the flesh can be conquered at some level. The flesh can be, put aside some level. There are ways of kind of saying...
overcoming and quieting our mind. And I do think it's interesting. I was thinking about, this is some deep stuff today, talking about, the cross and Jesus' willingness. But it says that Jesus did that for the joy that was set before him.
Right.
And so that would indicate to me that he knew how good that was going to be. That it came from that he knew where he was headed back and the beauty that was going to come with him. If he fulfilled it, I don't know.
Well, I think about that. I think, there's some level, there's a thing about, I think, with Jesus's divinity that I'm able, if I'm honest, because of it's divine, I can kind of keep God at arm's length. I can kind of make him removed. Well, you're divine. I'm just a human. I'm just a mortal. I'm flesh and blood. I'm down here.
And in essence, let yourself out of some
I can let myself out of some stuff. I can say, well, you're divine. You're over here.
I don't have
to open myself up to so much intimacy. I don't have to open myself up to, his saturation in my life. I don't have to do all those things.
Or potential things that he's wanting to change in our heart.
I can keep him removed. I can keep his holiness. I can say, well, that's a standard I'll never meet because he's divine. But humanity brings him into my world, creates a certain level of intimacy. And
definitely.
So that's intrusive in the best possible way. And
it's really beautiful.
Yes.
If you think about it. I mean, you could not create a story that's more beautiful or poetic that you would have God and man, intertwined in one individual.
Well, at some moment, at some level, it is the whole thing. It is the whole picture because it's God saying, these are the lengths I will go to. Okay, so you're down there. Okay, I'll come down there. Okay, so you're in the muck and the mire and the shit. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll come down there in there with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are in the darkness and the dark corner. I'll come down there with you. Even when we are in the dark corner, in order to hide from him, he will come into that place with us. There is no length or depth that he will not go to
Yeah.
in order to connect with us. And so the idea of even becoming human, because that's what it takes, to kind of stoop that low. For love of us, he's willing to do that.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing.
It is. And it's just like, is there anywhere if Evangeline, if our daughter
Right,
was in any situation that you wouldn't go to get her?
right.
No.
Maybe shopping on Michigan Avenue again.
Oh my God, I
But
know
yeah.
shopping. I mean, it was so much, and she was just like,
Yeah.
so much shopping. And I did the lion's share of that, by
Yes,
the
you
way.
did.
So you're welcome. But no, it's amazing. And I think maybe sometimes I take turns relating to either the divinity or the humanity of Jesus. It's all
Right.
in one thing, but there are times where I'm aware of that divinity, and that's helpful to me.
Yeah.
And there are other times where I'm so grateful for his humanity and,
Yeah.
and his relatability and his willingness to come and see what it's like to be me,
Well, I think about the way that he didn't run from his humanity, the way that Jesus did not run. I mean, I think about the emotions, like the emotions of anger on behalf of God. When he's in the temple and they've turned it into the marketplace, and so it's this passion that he has for his dad.
Yeah.
And it's, if you've ever had a sibling stick up for you, or you've ever stuck up for someone you love, you know what that feeling is like. And so I think about that with Jesus, even on steroids. And then I think about his pain. Like we talk about Lazarus dying, and him showing up 3 days later, whatever it was, and Jesus knows when he arrives. We know, a couple of paragraphs before that, he says, we're not going to go see Lazarus yet because he's sick, but soon he's going to fall asleep, and then we'll go. And
the disciples are like, let's
yeah.
go, come on.
And but Jesus
He waits.
knows. Jesus has the script, and he knows what's getting ready to happen. He's going to go there. Lazarus will be dead. He'll raise him from the dead, and that will be a sign that Jesus is who he says he is, and all that kind of stuff. So when he gets there, and Lazarus is dead, and there's this heartbreak from these people that are so intimately close to Jesus as his friends, which is an odd thing to think of, this divine person, this divine character having these human friends, and him letting these humans into him, into his life, and to know him as a friend.
Yeah.
And
that friendship is based on
Oh my
intimacy, so
gosh.
they had to know some of the things he was
You can't be
going
friends
through.
with someone who's emotionally removed.
Right, exactly.
So he would
had
have
to be honest with them.
Right. And so here it is. Lazarus is dead. Mary and Martha are there. They're distraught and brokenhearted, and maybe even a little angry that Jesus wasn't there
for sure.
to rescue him. And they're breaking down and they're crying. And then it says that Jesus cried with them. Now, Jesus knows that in 5 minutes he's going to walk over there and do all this stuff. But witnessing these people that he loves hurting so badly in that moment that he couldn't hold himself back from crying too.
Yeah. That's like the actual definition of empathy.
Yes.
Is when you can feel
Right.
what someone else is feeling.
And then, you get to the end of the Gospels, and I think you see Jesus' feelings hurt, in the sense of he's got a few hours left. He's got a few days left with these people that he loves, and these 12 disciples especially. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to explain to them what's getting ready to happen. They don't really have the ears to hear it or the brain to comprehend it. And they keep kind of swatting around, and suddenly they sound like the religious leaders. Well, just do this and then we'll believe you, or just do this and then we'll understand, and then you can hear the hurt in his response of saying, "Don't you know me?" Yeah. I mean, we've been every waking hour together for 3 years. You've seen all these things. We stayed up late, sleeping into the stars, talking about things, and I called you friends, and you know me as a friend, and we have all this intimacy together, and now you're saying these things like you don't know me, like you don't trust me, like we haven't had all this history together.
Right.
And so to hear the hurt in his voice, to hear the hurt in his response is so incredibly human.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't respond in a stoic, thou shalt not way. He responds as a friend who's been jilted.
Yeah.
He responds as a friend who's been hurt. And I find that amazing that he is intimate in that way.
Yeah, it's interesting too when I think about you talk about Jesus getting his feelings hurt, and he did. I mean, in the Garden of Gethsemane, so the night before he is going to the cross,
Right.
and he goes out to pray to be with God, and
Yeah.
and I hope that's where God is reminding him of where he came from and where it's headed, and and the angels come to strengthen him. But
Right.
you know, he goes back and he tells the disciples, which are his friends,
Right.
hey, if you just stay watch and pray. You
Yeah.
know, if you can just keep watch and pray. And he comes back and they're asleep. And he's like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I asked you to do this one thing. He's like,
Just sleeping.
you guys,
just snoring the day away.
you can just, which I would probably be there
Well,
sleeping
I think
too.
I think the
mean,
scriptures even I think they even relate something like to the point of, well, they had a lot to eat and drink and they were sleepy.
oh, I hadn't thought about
'Cause
that.
it was all after dinner.
a
You know,
lot,
so-
a lot of wine
He said,
at the
but their
Last
eyes
Supper.
were heavy.
Oh my gosh, that's
I
so
bet
funny.
they were.
But yeah, you can hear that. That's such a
Yeah.
human response. Guys, I asked you to do this one thing. You're asleep.
Yeah,
You know, he
right.
knows where he's headed.
He's so lonely
Yeah.
in this moment that only he can go through, this experience that only he can
Yeah.
endure.
Yeah,
And the
definitely.
loneliness of that is really amazing.
And that is very human.
It is very human.
Yeah.
So I think the reality is if you remove the humanity of this story, it changes everything.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that that this is the rescue plan, the fact that there's this intimacy, the fact that he is human. I mean, that I feel like most of the Gospels is the attempt of God and or Jesus to clarify who I really am. So here we had this thing. God says, I'm going to be your God and you're going to be my people and we're going to do those kind of stuff. And then you get, a couple thousand years into that and there's this really warped picture of who God is because we've messed it up and we've changed it, we've politicized it, and we've done all this. So Jesus shows up on the
That
scene.
sounds familiar.
Jesus shows up on the scene and says, "Hey, you've got this wrong. I don't know who this is. I don't know who gave you this picture, but I'm just telling you this is my dad, and that's not what he looks like. This is what he looks like." And so the Gospels, as we've said before, it's kind of like this dot to dot. You have all these various experiences in the Gospels.
Yeah.
And if you connect those dots, you're left with this composite of who God is. And part of that composite is this humanity of Jesus. Part of that picture is his willingness to come and do whatever it takes to reconnect with us, to be with us as a dad. So it's the dad that runs after the prodigal son. Mm-hmm. It's the divine father who becomes human. It's all that is at some level creating this composite. Said this is the passionate God that loves you so much. He would never leave you or forsake you or forget you, can't forget you. And that even if he had to come down in a shithole and get you,
Yeah.
he would do that.
And he did.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the story of Jesus, is that he was willing to be like us.
Yeah.
And
And as
that's what
scary
makes it
as that is, because intimacy is often scary, that's the value of it. That's the power of it. And it's not the same gospel otherwise without the humanity of Jesus in that process.
definitely.
And as you would say, that's some pretty deep shit.
It is deep shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the deepest of shit.
So maybe there's a picture in there where we start asking ourselves, how do we embrace the humanity of Jesus? What does that look like for us on a personal level? How do we not gloss over that or just act like it's the song we've heard, 100 times? How do we keep making this new, that A, God really does love me. He really is passionate about me. That's what this picture reveals. And because Jesus is human, what does that do to my relationship with God? What does that do to how he knows me and how I know him back? And those are questions we have to ask ourselves.
And to not be afraid of the humanity, but to ask for help in embracing that.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like. Probably different for each person.
Yeah.
but that's good.
But I'll start that tomorrow. I'll just do that tomorrow.
I'm going to start it this afternoon. Why wait till tomorrow? I mean, we've still got the rest of the day.
Mystics, this was a fun conversation with you, and we appreciate you having it with us and being a part of it. We would love to hear from you, and as we've had so many opportunities lately to hear from you, and we are in the works for doing a Mystics meetup. And so if you're in the local audience or the regional audience, we'll let you know those details pretty soon. And we're really, really looking forward to doing that together and having this conversation live in front of an audience of some sort.
Adding some people into the mix. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah. And as always, we really want to encourage you to continue this conversation. You don't have to agree with us on stuff, but have this conversation with somebody else and see what their thoughts are. And then if you want to, you can let us know what you come up with.
Yeah, we'd love it. Send us a comment and say what it is you appreciate about the humanity of Jesus, or what about it is maybe challenging for you.
Right.
And it could be fodder. There's a fun word for future conversations.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
All right, Mystics, we'll see you. Peace out.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with a friend. And check out Pioneer Dream's other podcast, Dreamers Live, a conversation about living intentionally. And Got a Minute? A podcast that pairs short humor columns with original music. This podcast is a presentation of Pioneer Dream, celebrating 30 years of moving stories for our corporate, nonprofit, and entertainment partners. Thanks for listening.